Welcome to Master the Game. I'm Juce. This is Paula. We've been bickering this whole time, so if you're lost, don't worry. We'll catch you up. Let's get started.
You should have said something about it being RPG a day.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juice. This is Paula. This is RPG a Day 2019, and we are on day 22. And today's word is lost. All right, so today the word is lost. And we've talked about this already. And the first thing that comes to mind to me is the Tomb of Annihilation game. Just the way the hexes work and the way you get lost. And, you know, which is great. However, there are some, I want to say it's like ranger abilities, or maybe it's like the Outlander background. One of the backgrounds basically makes it so you can't get lost. It's kind of like an automatic success.
Yeah, I think it's
tracking and
it's
stuff.
Outlander.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll pull it up here in a minute and actually look at it while you talk on yours. But yeah, like that's one of the things. I kind of like the idea that you could get lost. You know, as long as you're not on the trail or a path somewhere. And so it's something I've kind of struggled to work into my games when, you know, we've been traveling through a forest or whatever. I almost always have a path of some sort. Because I feel like if you have cities and towns and they need to connect by a trade route and they need to have roads. I mean, you have to be able to get wagons across. If you don't have roads of some sort, maybe it's just dirt roads, dirt paths, you know, with some overgrown grass. I mean, if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to move really any supplies. But I mean, think about it. If you were trying to just go through fields that have never been mowed or anything like that, and it's overbrush nonstop, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never been in an unsettled place. But that's how I'd envision it. That'd be a pain in the butt.
Yeah. So yes, there are backgrounds that give you, you know, the ability to essentially detect. I think it detects like what true north is.
Sure.
I think that's what it does.
Which you can't get lost if you know which directions you're going.
Right. Or if you have a map or something like that. So I think that does make it difficult from a DM perspective if you want your party to get lost, if you want them to stumble across things, which, you know, you bring up like the Tomb of Annihilation. That is one of the cool things about Tomb of Annihilation is that you can get lost and just find things, and you stumble your way into, oh, you know, we've discovered this thing and we wouldn't have discovered it if we didn't get lost.
Right.
Getting there. Which is kind of the cool thing or the cool ability to have. So if you are able to always know which direction is true north, then in some scenarios it can take the fun out of it. But I think if you know your party is in that situation, I think you can, you know, kind of work your way around that and, you know, how to handle it. But I also think it's frustrating from a party perspective if you continually get lost.
Maybe. Because
if you don't have the ability to know where you're going and you're just wandering around in circles and then you have no idea where you are until you just roll correctly one day, and now you're so far off to get back, and you just end up wasting time. It's just travel time, you know, which, you know, I hate travel time.
Right. Well, it depends on the type of gamer you are. Like, some people going in circles could be fine. You know, if the players are role-playing together and they're telling a story about it, it could be really interesting. If you have a group that's literally just dice rollers and power gamers and who don't care as much about the roleplay, and they want to advance story.
Don't hate on the power gamers.
Well, it's just the stereotype.
Me.
I'm not hating on you, just some power gamers that I've played with. Or if you're not someone who, like, there are players, like Matt, for example, who we used to play with. If he didn't feel like the story advanced in a session, he felt like it was a waste of time. If you didn't get that from watching Game of Thrones with him.
Yeah.
But he would get frustrated and be like, well, we didn't advance the story at all.
He would always get so frustrated during Game of Thrones. He's like, nothing ever happens in this show. It'd be like, what the
And he read the books, so he should really know how much nothing happens.
You know? Like, there was, like, plot twist after plot twist. Like, come on. Like, if there wasn't...
He didn't like slow builds. for some reason. He wanted instant satisfaction.
So what'd you find?
So in the Ranger class, there's an ability at first level called Natural Explorer. In it, it says you choose one type of favored terrain. When you make an intelligence or wisdom check related to your favorite terrain, your proficiency bonus is doubled if you are using a skill that you're proficient in. While traveling for an hour or more in your favorite terrain, you gain the following benefits. Difficult terrain doesn't slow your group's travel. Mm-hmm. Your group can't become lost except by magical means. So maybe Tomb of Annihilation has magical means of getting lost.
I mean, not that I've
maybe like super magical plant growth or something.
Remember, but possibly.
Even when you are engaged in another activity while traveling, such as foraging, navigating, or tracking, you remain alert to danger. So in other words, you won't be surprised by stuff pretty much.
Oh, that's handy.
If you are and I probably got that interpretation of it wrong. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments. Please do and correct me on that. I've never had a ranger in my party.
You are always welcome to correct the rules lawyer in the party.
100%.
Yeah, as much as I'm the power gamer, you are always the rules lawyer.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like,
but I don't care
if
they rule it differently.
In the book.
But I don't care if they rule differently. And I mostly did that in 2nd edition. That was when I was really bad.
You still do it.
Yeah, but
you
not
do
as
it to
bad.
me when I'm running games.
Yep.
And so then it becomes my pet peeve when I'm running a game that the players no longer ask me what the rule is.
No.
They ask him what the rule is.
Whatever.
And that's a super pet peeve.
That's
like,
the controlling
you need
nature
to ask the DM. Like, if I don't get to make the rulings and, what am I here to do?
Tell
read off a piece of paper?
No.
Like, no.
That's just your DM style.
No, I get to...
that you spent 40 hours that week prepping.
I do not. He gives me such a bad rep for spending all this time prepping. We have a game that we're playing on Saturday, which we haven't played for 3 months.
Yes.
And I have yet to do anything.
Tomb of Annihilation.
And it is Tuesday night. There's no way anything's going to get done tonight, though. Yes, but...
Take it to work. Read it on your breaks.
What break?
You get a break in the morning, a break in the afternoon where you go to your room and... I don't know, maybe you can read it there.
Oh.
Or watch a game of Tomb of Annihilation and steal notes from it.
Yeah, you know what
That's a good idea.
I decided to do on my breaks, though, is training sessions for work.
Oh, okay. You're working on break time? That doesn't make sense.
Well, usually I work on break time.
Anyways.
It's not really break time. It's like the government gives me break time.
So here's another thing, because resources are scarce in Tomb. When you forage, you find twice as much food as you normally would. While tracking other creatures, you also learn their exact number, their sizes, and how long ago they passed through the area. That's a first level ability.
That's kind of cool.
That is huge in a Tomb of Annihilation game. That's the ability that I've always been like, ooh.
People always are like, oh, Rangers suck. They're so crappy.
In this edition, they're not as powerful one-on-one as they've been in previous editions.
I mean, I get it, but also...
The favorite enemy doesn't do the same thing as it used to. I think you still get favorite enemy.
Do you?
I think so. So, the thing about it is, I feel like Tomb of Annihilation is meant to be a certain way. It's supposed to be resource heavy, like if you don't have a lot of rations or water, it's supposed to be a struggle. Getting lost is supposed to be a common thing. But if you have a ranger in your party whose favored terrain is jungle, then I feel like it goes into easy mode. You know what I mean? You remove a lot of the aspects of Tomb.
It would make it a little bit easier. I mean, not necessarily, because it's an awfully large map.
Sure.
And there are still instances in which you're likely going to get lost. Or, I mean...
Can you, though?
You're going to end up in the wrong place. I mean, because if you're like a, third level party and you're wandering through and you come across 3 frost giants or some sort of undead T-Rex, you're just going to run some direction.
But that says no matter what activity you're doing.
Yeah, I know, but you're still going to run away, and you're going to run in whichever direction is available, and you're going to end up in another hex, and you're going to have to make a decision from there. And, that's how it sort of, like, starts to kind of come together. Like, you're not going to go back into the same hex where the T-Rex was. You're going to go down and around.
Maybe.
Or, up and across.
But how big are hexes? Like 10 miles or something?
No, but...
I mean, you're really only going to run for maybe a half mile before you change your direction to the correct direction. Probably.
Yeah. I mean,
not a full hex. I wouldn't.
But...
I'd be curious, because obviously as only a player of Tomb of Annihilation, never a DM of it, I haven't read it. I feel like there's probably something in that book about this ability and how to handle it. There should be, if there isn't. You know what I mean? Because this could be a problematic ability for this campaign.
I don't think there was anything. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't matter.
Most
we don't
of
have a
what
ranger,
it suggests, in there is to get a guide.
Right.
Like, to absolutely get a guide and to protect
But
your
every guide in every Tomb game I've played in, they're almost useless.
Well, I think that's just a DM thing.
Probably.
Like, I'm not big on NPCs. I don't really care to run NPCs in combat as a DM. And so usually I just prefer to make my NPCs not do a whole lot unless they really are actively necessary.
Gotcha.
So I think that's my preference, especially if I'm in a situation where it's like, oh, I've got 15 goblins that I have to handle and manage and, continue to move combat along. And I have an NPC who's not leveling up. Like, what do? Do you level your NPC so that it's appropriate for the party? And,
no, you shouldn't worry
potentially
about that.
Take the spotlight.
The point of a guide is just to show you how to get somewhere. That's it.
And
you shouldn't be able to get lost on a random roll and rolling on a D6. It's 100% random. Right? Isn't that how Tomb rules it? It's like 100% random. You roll a D6 and you go the direction it tells you or something? Or am I misunderstanding that?
No, I think that's incorrect.
Oh, okay. That's just how it was done when we failed a certain roll then? Like when we failed our wilderness check or whatever the heck, survival or...
I don't know.
I don't remember. At least, because I feel like at least when we played an Andre's game, I thought he did a D6 to decide what direction we went when we rolled poorly for finding our way or something.
Yeah,
and that's how we handled it.
Something about your guides, like if your guide was still alive, that they, essentially like almost automatically sort of grant you the ability to go the right direction. Yeah. Or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean,
so
I don't know.
Anyways.
I don't remember, obviously.
It's okay. So what about you?
Lost. So this is what I was thinking for Lost. I was more thinking like, you're taking it in a physical direction, like you're physically lost, like in an area. But what about being like mentally lost in a campaign?
What do you mean?
Right?
Like as a DM?
So, no, as a player. Or as a DM to your players. Like, I like it when there's a lot of, like, woven storyline.
Okay.
That happens in a campaign. Sort of, like, creating those plot twists and creating something that's more intricate. But I always have a concern that my players are not going to get it and my players are going to get lost. Like, because if they don't get it, there's no good way to spell it out. You know what I'm saying? Without just really coming out and being
What's an example?
Oh, this is...
Give me one example.
Why do you gotta do that to me?
Well, you're trying to interweave plots, is what you said, right?
Yeah.
So so you have a main story arc and then little story arcs that you're trying to weave together?
Right. Well, I mean, because you have a large overall story that
stop the bad guy from, raising the cult.
Right. Yeah, but you can't stop the bad guy. You can't stop a necromancer at first level or something like that. So your characters have to build up to it, and then this is, it's like in a video game. You have to build up to this big boss battle.
So you're worried that
But if I lead them off on some side quest to take care of this thing, that they're gonna get done with that, forget to go back to the other main thing, or how do you get them back to the other thing, and the next story arc.
You have to create urgency. All it comes down to is you have to play on player motivations and their urgency, right?
Okay.
So a paladin, knowing a necromancer is out there, might have a really strong urge to go stop that, right?
Right.
So a side quest might not interest that person at all. However, you might have a rogue in the party that is intrigued by wealth and fame, and this side quest appeals to him. So you're creating inter-party conflict, not disruptively.
Okay.
And so now, it's up to the players. They might not go for either one. You might have another one who's like, I don't care about money, and I'm terrified of undead. Let's stay away from that. Let's go kill the hags in the bog instead. So you're creating an inter-party conflict with players. They're the ones that should drive the story. If the players have no interest in your overarching story, for whatever reason, maybe it's in the backgrounds of the characters or whatever, come up with something different and let that stuff happen in the background.
But so you're thinking for the side quests to pick up on maybe some of the motivations of just here's the motivation of one individual player,
sure.
So I'm going to plant this seed.
But add a timer on it. So maybe in the bar, someone says, yeah, my daughter's missing. She's been missing for 3 days. She's sick. She needs her medicine within a day or she's going to die. Now you've created an urgency of time that might pull them away. Okay, guys, this is more urgent. Let's do this.
We have to do this right now.
Right, but we already know where the necromancer's base is. We can go there next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now they're going to go on the side quest first because of time.
Okay, that's good.
So those are some ways to do it. It's not a video game where it's I did this, I picked up the side quest. I'll come back to that in 8 months.
Right, because nothing else is going to happen in that time.
Right. So you got to create the time, the timer, as I'm referring to it. So that's what I would do, and just play on the players' characters' motivations, and you can play on player motivations. If you have one character who likes social interactions, maybe it's, hey, we need this deal negotiated with someone, rather than combat. Now you've piqued that player's interest because they go, oh, this is a role play.
Yep, here's
thing.
An opportunity.
Yeah, and so then in character they'll say, well, guys, they'll do the work for you. Do less work as the DM and let your players do some of the work too.
So you're saying that on Saturday I should say that there is a magical weapon at X location.
In a way you could, yeah. You could have an NPC. You could have a dying NPC say, I was going for this piece of treasure. Over here, I was so close before I got bit by that poisonous vine or something.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, if they live, maybe I'll do that.
There you go. So that's what I would do. You can always simplify it down to just playing off your players' motivations.
Yeah, I kind of like that where, especially if you're picking one player, if there's one that is, really greedy or something like that, to play off of that.
Imagine Jordan's rogue, how easy it would have been to get him to go on a side quest.
Oh, yeah, but then he would have had to convince everybody else.
And he would have. He would have paid you all 5% each.
Maybe that's a good way to get a party who doesn't talk enough
to talk more
together, to kind of talk more and decide collectively on what to do, especially, or if you have a party that has a couple really strong personalities that need to sort of come together and work together and stuff like that to see what
it's how you shift spotlight to certain players sometimes too. So if you have a quiet, monk, if you know what his character's motivations are, whether it's seeking knowledge, you can drop a little tidbit of that, and if he's playing his character, he'll catch on to it and go for it.
Yeah, that's why I gave him the magical item that I did.
Sure. I don't remember what he got.
Because he's so quiet. So I gave him this magical item that it gives him every day it gives him different moods. It's like mood ring, except in real life.
What was the positive perk to it?
It gives him different... There isn't anything.
Okay. You should have some moods.
It literally gives him different moods. It's a cursed item, though, so he can't remove it.
You should give him some moods that give positive effects, pluses to your charisma.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Today you're feeling very
perky.
Make
him, happy or sad.
Talkative.
Or just, melancholy or...
Talkative.
Well, I already gave him the different colors.
You can always add to it.
I can make it rainbow.
You can add to it.
Talkative?
Yeah, you can totally add to it. Or... you can come up with some cool stuff, I'm sure, with that. That's what I would do. Again, so my big thing as a DM, and this is why I told you earlier, when you have players who roleplay a lot, it's easier as a DM. Because now you know what their characters want. Now you've got the breadcrumbs to take them to the gingerbread house or over here. If you don't have role players and they're just rolling dice, it's a lot harder. Now you, as the DM, are like, here's a dungeon, here's a hook, like go.
Yeah, it is much harder.
Right. That's why, like, when I ran for like my sister and Eddie, and who don't talk as much, I struggled more. But when I have like, you know, Matt even would sometimes go for stuff or whatever, it's easier.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
Let your players do your work for you, and you won't get lost as a DM on how to get them to do it.
That was such a good line.
I know. This is Master of the Game. I am Juce. This was Paula. Game on.